Ramya. So in today's class, we are going to discuss about data mining. So the introduction to data mining. So the contents that is being dealt in today's session is introduction to data mining, what is data mining, and the essential step in knowledge discovery process. So what is data mining? We are dealing with a lot of vast amount of the data in our real world. So constantly we are generating a lot of data and rapidly we are accessing the data. So, data mining is a process of discovering the interesting patterns and models, or it may be represented in other forms of knowledge in a larger data set. So, data mining is like we are going to gather the data from the data set. So, the data that is being gathered from the data set is a raw data, it is an unprocessed data, it is a fact, but it doesn't get give some meaning. So, the information that we are retrieving will not be a form of information. It is a data. So we need information from the data set. So in order to give, in order to process the data, we need to go for data mining process. So data mining, it will process our data and it will provide some interesting patterns and it evaluates the model and it will produce the result to the user in a form of a knowledge. So the data is a raw data, it is processed and it is presented to the user in a form of a knowledge. When we are going for the data mining approach, actually it identifies the data first from the large amount of the data set. It can be from a wide source. So not only from a single data set, the data will be collected from multiple sources. It can be like a database or it can be like a data warehouse. It can be like a flat file or in any form of data or any source of data. So the data is being identified for our data mining approach, and and the next step is we need to prepare the data. So when we are going to prepare the data, the preparation is actually the main process of data mining approach. So we are taking the data that is needed for our actual data mining approach. So we are going to prepare the data first. Then after that, we are going to fit the data to a particular model, and then we will be evaluating the data. And the evaluated data will be presented to the user in a form of a knowledge, and it is going to meet the business goal of the particular user. So data mining is widely used in large amount of applications like uh, missionary, industrial purpose, or any commercial purpose. Like you will be using it for healthcare, you will be using it for education purpose. For any purpose, we will be using a data mining approach where we are going to retrieve the data and we are going to present the data to the user in a form of a knowledge, right? So data mining, when we are going for the knowledge discovery process, it first prepares the data. So when we are going to prepare the data, we need to clean the data, we need to integrate the data, and we need to transform the data to some other form. And then we need to select the data. And after doing our data preparation, we'll be going for our data mining approach. That is, we will be doing our actual data mining process. Then we will be evaluating the pattern or model that is generated from our data mining approach. Then the knowledge will be presented to the user. So this is the whole knowledge discovery process. Let us discuss about all these processes in detail. So the first process is our data preparation. So data will be selected from the large amount of sources, right? So then it will be pre-processed. So that will be our target data, and the pre-processed data will be transformed to some other form that is needed for our data mining approach. Only the transformed data will be presented or given to the data mining approach, and some model will be applied to the transformed data, and the pattern is evaluated. And now, finally, we will be interpreting the knowledge or evaluating the knowledge. So it will be like a pure information where we have gathered from the data. So one good example for our data mining approach will be like we can take gold mining or diamond mining. So gold is a form of a metal. So it needs to undergo a certain filtration process or mining process in order to in order to use it as a in a form of some other forms, like we will be using it in it as a jewel, right? So if we want to use it as a jewel, we need to undergo several kind of mining process. Only then we can use it as a jewel. So gold mining is one good example for our data mining approach, right? So data cleaning. So when we are gathering the data from the large source, so it will be an inconsistent. There is a possibility of inconsistent data, or else it may have some kind of noise or inconsistent data or irrelevant data or noisy data. So we need to parse the data. So that is, we need to find what are all the errors in the data. We need to detect for some kind of syntactical errors, or we need to detect for some kind of semantic errors in it. And then we need to cleanse the data. So that is our data cleaning approach. So that cleaning will be majorly performed in order to detect the syntax error. So here we use parser. So parser will be deciding that what kind of string it should accept, and what kind of data specification is this having, so whether it is meeting the data specification or not. So everything will be analyzed here. So data cleaning, it cleanses the data. And we are going to the next approach in our data pre-processing technique. So the next approach will be data integration. So already I told you that the data will be taken from multiple sources. It is not gathered from a single source. It can be like the data can be collected from a data source called A, or it can be collected from the data source called B or data source called C. So all these together or wrapped together, and they will be created in they will be put together into a single schema. So where it can be a virtual database like our cloud database. So for example, we can take a retail loan application or commercial loan application or demand deposit application. So all these will be stored in a different database. For example, a retail loan application will be stored in a single database and data source, and commercial loan application will be stored in a single data source, and demand deposit application will be stored in a single data source. All these three together are combined into the bank data warehouse. So bank data warehouse will fetch the data from all these sources, and it will be making the data together, or it will be wrapping the data together. So that is data integration. So now we have gathered the information from multiple data sources, and it is combined into a single data warehouse. And next is data selection. So now we have gathered the data, but we need a data that is actually needed for our data mining approach. So that we need to select the data. So whatever the data that is relevant to our analysis task, so that will be retrieved from our database. So that is our data selection approach. So here we may use several kind of data selection techniques in order to select the data from our database, right? And the next one is data transformation. So data transformation is nothing but we will be converting the data that is appropriate for our mining process. We may summarize the data, or we may aggregate the data. We may find the average value from the data. We may count the data, how many data is available in the data set. We may find the maximum value. We may find the minimum value. We may sum it up, right? So the data will be transformed, or it will be consolidated into a form that is appropriate for our mining process. So here we will be using some techniques like ETL, extract, transform, and load. Okay. So there are so many techniques. So now we have transformed the data that is needed for our data mining approach. And the next technique is our data mining technique. That is our actual technique here. So here the data is gathered, it is selected, and it is transformed. Now it is available for our data mining approach. So now we will be fitting the data to our algorithm. That is, there are so many algorithms. So your data mining algorithms is differentiated, or it is classified into two techniques algorithms. One is predictive and another one is descriptive. So we may apply the data to a predictive algorithm or descriptive algorithm based on some kind of interestingness criteria, and then we'll be finding the hidden patterns from our data. So the data will be processed here actually. So some kind of data mining algorithms are decision tree, rule based induction algorithm, neural network, or memory case based reasoning. So we may use genetic algorithm in order to go for some kind of DNA classifications and all. Then we will be going with the Bayesian network. So each data will be dealt with different algorithms, right? So based on our data mining approach, we will be applying a different algorithm, and we will be producing the hidden patterns. And that is, we are going to extract the desired result. What is the result we need? That result will be extracted from our data mining approach. Okay. And the next step is the final step. So where we are going to present the data to the user. That is, the gathered data is processed. It is in a form of a knowledge. Now we need to present the data knowledge to the user in some kind of meaningful manner. So we may use some kind of GUI strategies, or we will be representing the data in a form of a visualization form. So here we may represent the data like graphical pattern, where it can be like a bar chart or pie chart or histogram, or we will be going with some kind of geometric techniques, like box plot, scatter plot, and some kind of icon based, we will be representing it with the help of figures or some kind of icons. Okay, so where the data is visualized, so the user will be understanding it in a more meaningful manner. It will be better understood if we are representing in a form of a graphical pattern, right? Why? Because the user is going to visualize it, not in a form of a text pattern. It is done with the help of some kind of GUI strategies. Mainly, the user should infer something from it. He or she should understand it, and the knowledge should be dealt in a meaningful manner. In order to do that, we'll be going with evaluation techniques. So the evaluation techniques will be in a form of a visualization pattern. Okay. uh, so that is all about our data mining approach. So here I'm going to conclude with an often repeated mantra. So that is, we always fear about the data advancement, right? In our digital era, we are always fearing about our data advancement. So whenever there is a big data, it is equal to the big trouble. So there is no, this statement is not accurate, but it is safe to say that whatever the data that we are taking, it should be analyzed properly, it should be dealt properly in order to retrieve our information that is delivered to the user in a form of a knowledge, right?